And the woman behind the desk looked at me, she looked at the t-shirt, she said, "Take that off and give it to me." And I looked at the crowded room and I said, "I don't really think that's a good idea." So she thought for a minute, she said, "Okay, come back here, lie on the Xerox machine so I can take a picture of it." And I said, "I don't think that's a good idea either." But that's when I got the message and the idea that people get so stressed out that they get to the point that they really want to choke somebody, they want to strangle somebody. Have you ever been there? Honestly? You can't do that because it's against the law and that's not a good thing. So what we want to start to talk about is how we can learn to deal with stress so that it's going to help us rather than hinder us. So how do people deal with stress nowadays? It could be you, other people, because sometimes the way they handle stress is not necessarily the best thing. So what are some of the ways that people deal with stress?
Drinking.
Drinking. Okay. Is that one of your preferred methods here? Okay, what else? How do people, yeah. Walk your dog, exercise. All right, what else? Eating. Sleeping. Deep breathing. Good, I'm glad you said that. We'll be doing that a little bit later, so I hope you're ready to get relaxed.
Talking, crying.
What'd you say? Talking to people, yes? Crying, okay. Anything else you can think of?
Watch TV.
Watch TV. How about some of those are okay? You know, it's really funny. I was doing a stress management training a couple of weeks ago, which was a two-parter, and I said a drink is fine. So the HR director had a really bad day, and so she went out and she went to the liquor store and she said, Della said I could have a drink. A whole bottle is not a drink. You know, a little drink is a drink, not the whole thing. So one drink is fine, but some people, they just think I'm going to keep on going. So when people are dealing with stress, sometimes the tools they're using are actually going to create more problems. If somebody is screaming at others, if somebody is drinking, if somebody decides to use recreational drugs, if somebody starts to, you know, curse at people and so on. People who go shopping, anybody here go shopping when you're stressed? Well, that's okay, except when the bill comes. See, that's another issue, because sometimes people do that because it feels good at the moment, but then the bill comes and they go, oh my God, I can't pay for it, and more stress shows up. Then you take it back, okay. I'm only worried, let's see, what have we tags here? I actually did buy this and I could afford, so life is good. So, what we want to realize is how stress impacts us personally, and it's gotten worse. I've been doing stress management training programs for a while, and it's interesting. The first program, this program that I did it for a healthcare company, and I did it at 6 o'clock in the morning because the people on the third shift were so stressed out that they were literally passing out. Bad news, and that's a healthcare company. So it really, excuse me? They were literally passing out from stress. Yeah, that's why I started doing this program. It's amazing. But one of the things, we're not going to get to that point, hopefully.
I hope.
Go get that drink, right? But one of the things that we want to recognize is that stress can create so many problems in our lives. It could create problems with memory. It could create problems with the ability to do your job. It could create problems with relationships, sleeping, aches and pains. If you get headaches a lot of times, you may think it has nothing to do with stress, but very often it does. So what we want to realize is that stress can have a very negative impact on our lives, including, and the most important, is the impact it has on your health. 90% of visits to primary care doctors are due to stress-related illnesses. And it's really interesting, going back to this company that I did this stress management workshop for, which was 2 different weeks. One of the guys who was in the program, really nice guy, he wanted to be there, but they kept on pulling him out and so on and so forth, and he never got to the point of when we were doing the meditation and relaxation, which, by the way, we're going to do a little bit later. And then I found out, I went back the next week to start a time management program, and I found out that he had a heart attack. Because if stress is really not controlled well, that really could be the end result. And my doctor is a cardiologist, and I asked him, could you have a heart attack if you don't deal with stress? And he said, absolutely. And speaking of my doctor, I want to share something with you. I want to be really, really honest. When I tell him I do stress management programs, he says, that is the blind leading the blind. So I am not a laid-back kind of person. So, you know, I'm a high-strung kind of person, but I do practice what I am going to be sharing with you, because if I didn't do that, then I would be wearing the t-shirt and maybe strangling some people. So when stress shows up in your life, you really basically have two options. And the options that you have are to try to change the stressor. If you can do that, that's the best choice. Because if you can get rid of the thing that's causing you to feel stressed, you don't have to manage it. But sometimes it's not an option, is it? Like you're just talking about the budget cuts, potential budget cuts. You might try to do some things about it by advocating and so on, but maybe you're not going to be able to get what you want. Then what is your choice? And your choice is to learn to deal with it as effectively as you can so that it really doesn't impact you personally. Because once it gets in your body and it starts to impact you, I mean, lots of things are going on and they're not necessarily good. So we're going to talk about some ways that you can learn to have the tools that you will need to be able to handle stress. And another thing I have really discovered, it's gotten worse, and the tri-state area is much more stressed than the rest of the country. You go to the Midwest here, they think they have stress, but we're 24/7, always moving. You got Blackberries, you've got the internet. We never stop. And so we want to realize that it becomes even more dangerous. So the kind of stress, professionals, what you're under right now is what's called chronic stress. And that's really the stress that's very dangerous. And the reason for that is there's no let-up. There's acute stress and chronic stress. So let's talk about acute stress. You're driving on 287, you're behind a truck and you're going, everything's fine. All of a sudden, this 18-wheeler, the wheel, one of the tires, flings right off. So your body is going to not, you don't even think about it. When it happens, that flight or fight syndrome goes on, and your brain knows exactly what to do, and you're going to move over, get out of the way. That's acute stress. But that's not so dangerous as chronic stress, because once it's over, your heart's beating and racing and so on, but then it's over, you take a couple of deep breaths, it's done. But what happens nowadays is it never ends. Can you relate to that? Just when you think you've gotten one thing under control, there's something or four other things that show up. And that's really the stress that becomes really a challenge, because that is what's really potentially going to cause damage to our bodies. Because when you're under stress, your body is creating 1,500 biochemicals that are so powerful. And if you don't know how to get rid of them and deal with them, there's a good chance that you're going to have major issues. People who are under stress, they get sick more quickly because it suppresses your immune system. They are not able to think. Everybody, I'm getting a senior moment. Well, if you're under stress, it's not that you're having a senior moment, it's that your brain is not processing. So we want to have tools that we can use to get better with stress, because you're probably not going to get rid of it. If you thought I came here and I was going to tell you how to get rid of all the stress in your life, no. Actually, how many of you would like to get rid of all the stress in your life? Well, you can't do that, because the only way you're going to get rid of all the stress in your life is when you're no longer breathing. As long as you're alive, you're going to have stress. So we want to talk about some of the ways that we are actually possibly contributing to stress in our lives. You see, everything in life is neutral. You could have two people in the same situation. One person gets stressed out and the other person doesn't. Have you had that experience?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you have. Oh, you're one of the. Are you the stressor? Do you get stressed out, or you kind of